Introduction to Functions. C is a structured programming language which uses top-down approach in solving a problem. In top-down design approach, a program is divided into a main module and its related modules. This idea of top-down design is done using functions. Types of functions. There are two kinds of functions. First is the library or the built-in function. The second is user-defined functions. First, library or the built-in functions are used to perform standard operations, for example, square root of a number, absolute value, printf, scanf, etc. Type 2, user-defined functions. User-defined functions are self-contained blocks of statements which are written by the user to compute a value or to perform a task. They can be called by the main program repeatedly as per the requirement, as shown in the figure. Let's look at the definition of a function. A function in C, including main, is an independent module that will be called to do a specific task, or in other words, functions are the subprograms which are used to compute a value or perform a task. They cannot be run independently and are always called by the main program. Elements of user-defined functions. The first is the function definition. The function definition of a function contains the actual code that performs the intended task. Here is the syntax for the function definition. It has the return type followed by the function name followed by formal argument list. It has a body which is going to have the local variable declaration section, executable statement 1, 2 and so on. At last it is going to have one return statement. Let's see the next element of a user-defined function, that is function invocation, also called as function call. Invoking or calling a function means executing the code of a function from a program. The syntax is as follows. Variable is equal to function name followed by actual argument list. Let us consider the example to call a function here. Sum is equal to add of a comma b. Here sum is the variable, add is the name of the function, and a comma b is the actual argument list. The third element of a user-defined function is function prototype or function declaration. Function prototype is used to check for any data type mismatch of actual argument in the function call and the formal arguments in the function declaration. It has the following syntax. Data type followed by function name followed by the type variable 1, type variable 2, type variable n. For example, int add int m comma int n. So here int is the data type, add is the name of the function, int m is the declaration of variables. Actual and formal argument or parameters. Actual arguments. The arguments listed in the function calling statement is referred to as actual arguments. They are the actual values passed to a function to compute a value or to perform a task. For example, sum is equal to add of a comma b. Here a comma b are the actual arguments. Formal arguments or parameters. The arguments specified in the function declaration are referred to as formal arguments. They are simply formal variables that accept or receive the values supplied by the calling program. For example, int add int m comma int n. In the following example code, m and n variable are called as formal arguments. So let me start writing the program here on the board. The first line is the header file hash include stdio.h. The second header file is conio.h. Then we have the main function. Then let us have the function prototype. Then have the variables. Next is the clear screen function. The first printf statement of the program, enter any two integer numbers. The scanf function. The function call, which is assigned to another variable called sum. Next is the printf function printing the results. At last is the getCH function and terminating the main program here. So now let me write the subprogram, that is the add function, which is called as the user-defined function. Int add int a comma int b. Let me take a variable here, int total. Let's add this total using the formula a plus b. At last, return the result back to the main program. So this is the program which is going to give us the sum of two integer numbers using a function, and the name of this function is add. So here if you just look at this program, so here we can find the three important elements of a user-defined function. The first important element is the function definition here. This is the first important element. The second element is the function call. The third important element is the function prototype. So now the program is complete. So here we need to be aware that any program using a user-defined function is going to have three important components or the elements, that is the function definition. So the function definition is a subprogram which is going to have the actual code to perform the intended task. The actual task to be done in this program is to find the sum of two numbers. So this task is done within this block of code, so it is called as a user-defined function in the name of add. So then we have the second important element, that is a function call here, that is the function add. Then we have the function prototype here. So all the three elements are within the same program and it is required. So let us execute this program and let's check what would be the output of this program. Any C program execution always begins from a function called main. So this is the line of execution. Then we have declared the function or the user-defined function. We have declared the variables. Clearing the screen, the first printf statement says enter any two integer numbers. So the output what we get here is the first printf message, that is enter
any two integer numbers. I being a programmer, I am going to enter a number to this. So I have to enter two input numbers. So that two input numbers will be read by the scanf statement, that is %d, two integer numbers stored in m and n. So I am going to write 5 and 7. Next line, I have what is called as function call. This is very, very important for a program using user-defined function. So this function call, the name of this function must be exactly similar to the name what I have specified in the function definition. So I have, the name of this function is add. So whenever there is a function call, now the control from this part of this program, from the main program, the control jumps to a place where this function has been defined. That is a function definition. So since the program is called within this main program, the main is called as the calling program, and this function definition is called as the called program. So whenever the control comes here, now there is a transfer of control and the execution from the main program to the function definition. Apart from transferring the control, we are also passing the parameters, that is the value of m and n. So this value m and n is going to get occupied by the variables a and b, and a gets the value of m and b gets the value of n. The value of m, what I have entered here is 5, and the value of n, what I have entered is 7. So once the control comes to this particular function definition, now this particular subprogram starts executing its task. Let's see what is going to happen right now. So here, anyway, I have declared a variable called total. Now total is equal to a plus b. What is the value of a? The value of a is nothing but it is the value that is copied from m. The value of m is 5. So 5 plus, what is the value of b? The value of b is nothing but the value that we have copied from n, and its value is 7. So 5 plus 7 is, the total is 12. At last, I am going to return this result total back to the calling program, that is a main program. So the result total is going to return this control back to the place where exactly it was called, and the result is going to come and occupy to a variable called sum. So this is how a program involving function is going to execute. Okay? Now this is the calling program and this is the called program. After executing the whole task, the return statement returns the control and the result back to the main program. So now the result, whatever we got, will be stored in the variable called sum. And next line, I am going to print the result using a printf statement, that is the sum of two integer number is %d sum. So I am going to get the output as the sum of two integer number is as 12. This is the output what I am going to get for this particular program involving functions. Of course, at last we have the getch and terminating the main program. So you have to be aware that a program involving function definition or a user-defined function, the program execution starts in main as well as the program execution ends in main. Between the execution, the control will go to the function definition, do its task, again come back to the main program.
Now, let me explain and execute how to execute this program using functions. So here the program is to find the sum of two numbers using functions. So let us start the program by including a header file, that is stdio.h and conio.h. stdio.h is a header file which stands for standard input output.h, and conio.h is a header file which stands for console input output.h. Next, what we have is the main function, which is a mandatory function for all C programs. So then what we have is the function prototype. The name of this function I am going to use in my program here is add. Next is the variable declaration line. I have declared three variables in the name of a, b and sum. All three variables belongs to of type integer. Then I'm going to use clear screen function. Then I'm going to have my first printf statement in my program, that is enter any two integer numbers. So then I'm going to have one input function, that is scanf, which is going to accept two inputs from the keyboard, and that gets stored in the address of A and address of B. So next I have what is called as the function call, calling the function add by passing two parameters A and B and assigning that to the variable sum. Then I have another function to print the statement, that is the results. The sum of two integer numbers is so and so. Let's check what is that. That depends on the input. Then I have the getCH function, so which is going to terminate my C program here. So this is the end of the main program. Now next, look at the user defined function, that is a function definition. So the first line of function definition must be exactly similar to the function prototype what we have declared, except the semicolon. Let me declare a variable called total of type integer, and let us compute using the formula m plus n and return the result which is stored in total back to the main program here. This is the end of this function. So this program has two parts, two functions. One is the main function, another is the user defined function in the name of add. Now let me execute this program line by line. The line highlighted indicates it is a line under execution. In C program, the first line that gets executed is main. So main is always a mandatory function in all C programs. So here you can observe the flow of execution. The next line is enter any two integer numbers. Let me enter 7 and 5 are my two integer numbers. Yes. The next line under execution is the function call. This is the line where you have to be very careful. Now the execution control is going to transfer from this calling program to the called program. So the program that is getting called is called as add function. The control jumps from this main program to the called program. Yes, you can observe the jump in the execution. Now the control is completely transferred to the function definition. Now this user defined function is going to execute its statements completely and compute the results, and now it is going to return the result back to the main program with a return statement. Yes, the program execution starts in main and the program execution ends in main. This is the end of the program execution. The sum of two integer number is 12.